So the Tennessee Emergency Management just got done putting this post out. And this is for you, Tennessee Emergency Management. We are not complying with the government. The people in the state of Tennessee, the volunteer state, are not going to comply, okay? We will continue to collect donations. We will continue to go to the donation centers and drop them off. And we will continue to help our own people in the state of Tennessee. We also don't need to funnel our money through your government website. There's many people in my state that are completely pissed off with this statement. And again, we are not complying. We will continue to help our own.
But hold on, wait. There's more. Now, granted, a lot of these clips you guys may have seen already. Some of you are seeing these clips for the first time. These clips just illustrate how strange the whole situation was and how much blocking there was from the feds.
You want to go back out and try to help today, and his response was, there's so many messages, I don't think we can't not go help.
Sidham and his son were headed up to Black Mountain. Flight tracking shows no flight restrictions in place Saturday or Sunday morning when Sidham flew through the Lake Lure Gap. But that was all about to change. The Sidham spotted an older couple waving for help, then landed in what's left of their driveway.
Hey, I want you to let me get in. You step out and go out, help her in, put her bag in the back, get her strapped in. I'm going to take her down, come back. I'll take him, I'll come back, and then I'll get you, okay?
I originally left my son, co-pilot, on the side of the mountain. It was kind of unstable, so I didn't want to put more weight in the helicopter to lift back off. So I left my son with the other victim, and I was just going to take one person down at the time. And you could hear me in the video talking through with the victims and with my son what we were going to do.
3 minutes away, Sidham spotted a group of rescuers just down the river. He landed and found someone in charge.
Told him my background experience, law enforcement, firefighting, pilot. He immediately started helping with coordination. He gave me radio frequencies to coordinate with them on, set up a landing area for me to come back with the other victim. And in the middle of the whole conversation and then blocking the road off, I was greeted by the, at that time I didn't know, but Lake Lure fire chief or assistant chief maybe, and he shut down the whole operation. So at that point I felt like the conversation wasn't going any further. And again, he asked me to leave, and I said, hey, I have no problem getting out of your area. If that's what you want us to do, we'll leave, no issue. At that point, I asked him, you know, what was the reason I had to leave them there, and he said, again, you're interfering with my operation. I just need you to get out of the area. I said, sir, I don't know where you were trained at, but I know how my training is, and I'm not going to leave personnel behind. I'm going back to get my co-pilot. He said, if you turn around and go back up the mountain, you're going to be arrested. I said, well, sir, I'm going back to get my co-pilot. I don't know what to tell you. And he said, I'm letting you know. And at that point, he waved for 2 law enforcement officers to come over and told me that again, if I go back up the mountain, I would be arrested.
He flew the 3-minute trip back, picked up his son, and left the woman's husband behind.
Sure, he was flooded with emotions and trying to rescue other people, and I just felt that it was best at the time to leave. So I did follow his instructions, and I had a conversation with the female victim before I left, apologizing and explaining. She was standing there. She heard the whole conversation. And they were both very, very surprised, very upset. The husband, as I was leaving off of the side of the mountain, at that point, separated from his wife. He was upset. I can only imagine.
Sidham and his nearly 1,400 flight hours turned his chopper around and headed back to South Carolina, passing people waving for help along the way.
As I was actually leaving to go back to get my son, the original chief or captain that I spoke to, his crew and himself, they came back over and said, hey man, we can't tell you to go get the victim. We can't even ask you to go get the victim, but we can tell you if you come back with the victim, we'll have you a designated landing spot, and they won't. We'll make sure they don't come over here.
So there was no flight restriction when you went in?
No flight restriction when I went in. It went in place 20 or 30 minutes after the confrontation with Mr.
You feel like that was coincidental, or do you think that was because of what happened?
I don't think it can be coincidental when there has not been one in place the day before doing rescue operations, the night of, the morning of, that took place after our altercation. I think there would have never been a TFR put in place had we not had that conversation. If I had to do it over again, I would have stopped and I would have rescued as many people until they decided they were going to arrest me.
Well, for now, we've chosen not to name that Lake Lure fire official because communications in and out of that town are still difficult. We want to include his side in this story, and if and when he responds to our messages, we will include that. The good news is I saw a video of a Coast Guard helicopter landing in Lake Lure this morning, so hopefully some of those mountain rescues are underway today. From Pageland, Jody Barr.
As you can see, this strange activity is happening in both states, North Carolina and Tennessee as well. It's only a few conclusions I can come up with. And remember, more than one thing can be true at the same time. So on one conclusion is that FEMA and the feds have paid off state and local officials to stand down. State reps, sheriffs, fire chiefs, the shot callers of the local state governments, when I say local, I mean small counties, towns, have been compromised, and everyday people are now the collateral. And mind you, it's not like we don't see what's happening there or hear about it. The facts in the matter, a lot of us still trust and look at Big Brother, the feds, the government, whatever you want to call them. Many people view these systems as having their best interests at heart. And as of a few weeks ago, many are now seeing the truth in the matter, that they in fact do not. Here's a little food for thought in this next clip from Boondocks creator Aaron McGregor.
Somebody can tell you black is white and night is day, and you will believe it. And not only that, the bigger the lie, the more likely you are to believe it. They told you for how many months that the attacks on New York and the Pentagon were the responsibility of Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda. They told you that over and over and over and over again. And you know what? You believed it. Until they wanted to invade Iraq. Then they told you it was Saddam who did it. They just told you a completely different thing. And you know what? Nobody said anything. Everyone, oh, okay, sure. Now, you guys are smart, so I know some of y'all had to be asking questions. But the vast majority of Americans believed it.
Cloud seeding is something that I studied in school for meteorology, weather modification. Back when I went to school, it was like, I've poo-pooed a little bit. It was too expensive. It's not efficient enough. Well, guess what? When you get desperate and then technology gets better, 20 years later, here we are. Cloud seeding is ramping up so big. You see me there showing that flare on the plane. They send silver iodide into the clouds, and then it makes it snow more. So they can't make a cloud, right? But they're taking storms that are already there and then giving it a little boost. So this is not, that part's not new. What's new is they have hundreds of these ground cloud seeders. So they're actually puffing the silver iodide with a flare. And you see, I think I have a picture of the actual ground cloud seeder into the air. That thing sits all over the Rocky Mountains, all over the American West. 10 states are doing this. And I wanted to tell this story because my friend Russ is the state climatologist of Colorado, and he said, you got to see what's happening with cloud seeding. It is huge, and it's only getting bigger.
There's a mystery unfolding in Solano County. Over the last 5 years, the group Flannery & Associates has discreetly bought up 60,000 acres of land surrounding Travis Air Force Base. Finally forced out of the shadows, a collection of Silicon Valley billionaires reveal they're trying to build a utopia on the rolling hills between Sacramento and the Bay Area. They call the project California Forever. It's been met with some strong and vocal opposition from longtime residents, elected officials, and other community leaders.
Jan Schrammig is betting on California, not only for his future but others.
I know doubled down on California at a time when a lot of other people have given up on the state.
He and a group of billionaire investors want to create a new city in Solano County from the ground up. They call the project California Forever. The renderings of the proposed city look like something out of a fictional book. Streets without cars, children on bikes, people on kayaks, neighbors gathered at their local coffee shop. It would be a solar-powered community.
Where your kids can walk to school and you can walk to a grocery store or to a restaurant, ideally to your work as well. And it is built in a much more environmentally friendly and sustainable way where it relies more on transit and less on cars, and it has a much smaller environmental footprint.
Shramek is a former Goldman Sachs trader who lived many years in Europe and has long had a fascination with walkable cities. He and his family actually moved to Fairfield in September, his value of work-life balance now spilling over into his proposal.
My wife and I are young parents, and if we had to commute an hour and a half every day, we would never see our kids for breakfast or for dinner. You only get to tell your 2-year-old a bedtime story 365 days in your life, and then it's gone.
He sat down with ABC 10 for one of the rare television interviews he's granted in 7 years on the project.
About 6-7 years ago, I discovered this site and got to know Solano County, and eventually had the idea that you could build one of them here in a way that would really bring up the whole community and be a real asset to Solano County.
The name of the company the investors formed is Flannery Associates. Now, Shramek wants to set the record straight about his intentions, which have been called into question by many.
We never had the intention of building a city next to Travis Air Force Base. We started buying property far away from the base. Eventually we acquired property close to the base because we wanted to be able to work with the base to protect it and to strengthen it. And we felt that if we were doing a large project in the kind of 5 or 10 miles away from the base, then we would want to control the property next to the base as well.
You've been buying land for over 5 years. Why the initial secrecy?
We wanted to prevent the situation where if we announced the plans prematurely, there would be this reckless speculation rush. And then the county would be dealing with lots of different people proposing lots of different projects, and it would result in disorderly growth and sprawl.
Do you regret the way that you went about it?
No, we've been very methodical about it from the beginning, and we've been very responsive to government agencies when they've come in and they ask us to confirm that there was no Chinese involvement.
Shramek says the company revealed their investors a year ago when the government asked, made up of LinkedIn co-founder Reid Hoffman, American entrepreneur Mark Anderson, and Lauren Powell Jobs, Apple co-founder Steve Jobs' widow. But multiple lawmakers, including Congressman John Garamendi, Congressman Mike Thompson, and Senator Bill Dodd, all told ABC 10 in August they were unclear on the project and they didn't meet Jan Shramek until later that month.
Were there lies? Was there misinformation? Did the plan change over time?
Absolutely not.
To give you an idea of the scope of this project, 52,000 acres is twice the size of the city of Elk Grove and larger than the city of Stockton. Shramek says they're done purchasing land and are on to the next step, a listening tour in surrounding cities.
I think that the biggest misconception that's out there right now is that there's community opposition to the project.
But there are doubts.
I can't overstate just how widespread this impulse is amongst tech leaders to build new cities from scratch. Some of the founders of the most prominent tech companies have proposed building new cities from scratch in recent years. Google's Larry Page, Tesla's Elon Musk.
Molly Turner teaches at UC Berkeley School of Business. She says tech investors prefer to start from scratch, but struggle with making the idea a reality. Shramek says California Forever is not like prior tech utopian ideas looking to stand alone.
I think the government in Solano County is very well run, the county is very well run. We have no plans to build any kind of utopia or any kind of city with different governance. We would love to build a great community that is in unincorporated Solano County for a long time, run by the county. It pays taxes to the county.
And with California Forever set to be a commuter's refuge, attracting people from the Bay Area and Valley regions, traffic and carbon footprint are a top concern. Zachary Lamb also teaches at UC Berkeley. His expertise is city planning and urban design with climate change.
Do you have a good, clean, reliable water supply? Do you have a good power supply? Do you have good transit access? And as far as I understand, none of that is there in this corner of Solano County.
Commuting out is part of the footprint. Another part of the footprint is how do people move around inside the city. And in many of the cities in California, a substantial part of the emissions is how people move inside the city. And if we build a city where people largely walk or bike or use public transit inside the city, that compensates for a lot of commuting.
For traffic, Schromick says they want to use Highway 12 and 113 out of Dixon and Rio Vista to get to California forever. Lamb says while the project is fascinating, he wishes the resources and creativity were put towards existing cities.
The feasibility of realizing a vision like what we've seen in those renderings, to me, strikes me as quite low.
Flannery Associates says they want to start from scratch for multiple reasons, including housing for a real estate market that has a short supply.
There's a lot of California families that are asking whether they're going to have a future in the state or whether they should leave. There's a lot of California companies that are reevaluating their footprint after COVID and thinking about are they going to stay. If California is going to build a big project that really makes a dent in many of these issues, now is the time to do it.
Flannery and Associates seems like Walt Disney and California Forever is your Tomorrowland.
I don't think that that's what we are looking to do. I mean, there's people who've kind of promised to reinvent urban living and they've promised to invent the cities of tomorrow. We would like to build a city of yesterday, if anything.
Now, California Forever will soon start collecting signatures to get their initiative to build the city on the 2024 November ballot. Here's a look at what they're promising you and what a new city could look like. We talk one-on-one with the planners.
Today is the day.
Today is the day that founder and CEO Jan Schromick reveals California Forever to the world. Described as a mixed-use, walkable city, 18,000 acres between Travis Air Force Base and Rio Vista. If it's Schromick's dream city, planner Gabriel Metcalf will be the one to root it in reality.
It is a fascinating gig for a city planner.
Metcalf envisions a variety of housing from apartments, rentals, townhouses, and homes with a starting price of $450,000 and with the ability to walk from one end of the neighborhood to the other, each with grocery stores, restaurants, parks, and schools. The yellow on this map, the land outside of Travis, will become a solar field, generating enough power for 1.5 million homes. They say only 30% of the 60,000 acres they used will actually be for residential.
Outside of the urban footprint, we will continue to have an agriculture business and an energy generation business.
California Forever will start with a 10,000-person community to test the idea, which Schromick says will cost $2 billion to build. Then they'll move to 50,000.
The major initial phase is 50,000, but if it gets momentum, it has the potential to be as much as 400,000 people.
But California Forever can't move past 50,000 people without meeting their promised guarantees. Anye Spivey previously worked on the housing next to Jack London Square in Oakland. He's now the director of development planning and is making sure California Forever keeps its promises, including 15,000 jobs for people guaranteed to make $77,000 a year.
Firefighters, police officers, nurses, etc., back into the communities in which they reside so that they're not having to commute an hour.
The group is also promising $200 million to other Solano County towns and $70 million in scholarships.
$400 million in housing funds available for the first 50,000. You'll see an additional $400 million available if we're able to grow beyond 50,000.
They say they won't be taking tax revenue from the county. It'll be funded by California Forever and its residents. We asked how much in taxes California residents would have to pay to sustain the city. They said they don't know yet.
The impact is on the eastern part of the county, us, okay? So the western part, those are the ones that are going to decide whether this project is going to get approved or not.
Mayor Ron Cott says once a park is created to separate Rio Vista and California Forever, and there's a guarantee the new city won't use any of the county's water, he'll be on board, but residents still need some convincing.
I think it was very bad to exclude the community, to do this on very short notice.
So far, they have not proved to be necessarily good neighbors.
California Forever is feeling confident.
We're pretty sure we're going to win.
California Forever released those plans to a small group of people, less than 100. Many in the community were upset they weren't invited. So we traveled to many cities in Solano County to share what we know, the pictures, the information, and to hear from residents about turning all of that farmland into the potential new city.
At the Rio Vista Bakery and Cafe, we couldn't decide what was hotter, the coffee or California Forever as a topic of conversation.
Who wants to be my neighbor?
California Forever. Mary Jane has been teaching for 46 years, still a substitute today. She's interested in the guarantees Flannery and Associates is making for future generations.
They said they're going to build all their own schools because they don't want to overcrowd existing schools.
What do you think about that?
Well, true, because we're at our limit, I think, now.
We showed Walt Manos, who's been attending the town halls, the new renderings.
That's beautiful. Utopian city, right?
But Walt says these are just ideas. It's too premature.
We don't like what's going on with our ranchers here right now.
Traffic on Highway 12 is a big sticking point for many Solano County residents.
I don't know what they're talking about, an offshoot, but what we know, we have a major problem here with our congestion every day.
The issue for many living in Rio Vista, in order to get to California Forever, you have to drive through their small town. This roundabout is a potential entrance to the proposed city. Knowing there will be extra traffic, California Forever is proposing an expansion of the busy highway and a new bypass. In Suisun City, we found an anomaly.
Have you heard about California Forever?
No.
When we showed Gabriel the map, the 35-year resident reacted like everyone else.
It will be crazy on the highway. It's a small highway. How are they going to go over there? They're going to block us completely.
A look at the new renderings of the proposed downtown brought him around.
Dinner shopping, yes. Yeah, normal, but they have to fix the highway.
The same amenities caught a Vacaville resident's eye.
I'm excited about it. Restaurants, movie theaters, like fun stuff.
After a look at the new photos,
no, I probably won't move, but I'll go visit.